Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name's Katie. I'm a freelance illustrator in the UK, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my review of the Perfect Sketchbook by Etchr. I've seen people using the white standard Etchr sketchbooks, and I've heard really great things about them, but I didn't know about the Perfect Sketchbook, which is a collaboration between Etchr and Owen Lian, until I saw this one. I won this on a Twitter giveaway and was really excited to try it out. So I've not tried any Etchr products out before because it's out of my price range for art materials, with their A5 sketchbooks being around the £30 mark. This Perfect Sketchbook is £31 on the Jackson's Art website, and the A4 one is £39. So it's definitely not a budget brand, but I was really excited to see if it was worth the money, and I felt really lucky to have won this one so I could try out something that I usually wouldn't get a chance to. So just before I share my thoughts and review it, I'll also share what I'm doing in this video. This is a real-time painting video showing my very first painting in a sketchbook, so these are my initial thoughts. And if you've seen my other videos, you'll probably know by now that I love to paint landscapes, so I kept to my comfort zone for this one and painted a little rural scene, and I'll pop the reference down below. The Perfect Sketchbook is in a landscape format, and the paper quality is super thick at 300 GSM. It's 100% cotton paper and cold pressed, so the paper is very textured. Hot press is generally a lot smoother, and this one only comes with cold press paper, whereas all of the other Etchr products and sketchbooks on the website have the option. It feels very pro with all the packaging, which you'll have seen me unwrap at the beginning. I really love that it comes in a little sleeve and with the elastic washer closure on the envelope. It did feel a little bit unnecessary and over the top, but obviously if you're spending that much money on a sketchbook, then you want it to feel really special. The sketchbook does open flat, although the first and last threads don't, and they do have about a centimetre of the pages by the spine stuck together. Etchr also put a little disclaimer that because of the signatures you might get bleed through if you paint right to the spines and paint over the middle of each spread, because there are some gaps on some of the pages. I'm really impressed with the thickness and quality of the paper in here. It feels really robust and is extremely high quality paper, so I wanted to use watery gouache on here to test the paper buckling. Because the paper is so thick and sturdy, I did use binder clips to hold it down to work on because the paper is so thick it kind of wanted to stand on its own. I think this would work really well with watercolour, but I'm more of a mixed media artist, so I was keen to see how that fared. One thing to note is that because the paper is so thick, then there's no bleed through at all, so you don't waste the reverse side of the paper and you can use every page in here. So I definitely think it's perfect for painting. I really loved the way the paint smoothly went onto the page and could fill all the little nooks and crannies of the texture. It held the wet paint really well, and I used quite a lot of water, especially in the sky. The paper didn't buckle at all, and I think you could be really liberal here with water and multiple layers, which other sketchbooks struggle with. Because I rely so much on mixed media for my work, I also tested it out with some Tombow Markers and an Ecoline Brush Pen. Again, because of the thickness, there was no way it would bleed through, and it's almost like you're working on card, it's that thick. You'll see me use the pens in a minute, but they worked really nicely on the paper, and I was really impressed with how it took the Ecoline pen. When I've used that in my Royal Talon sketchbook, it did bleed through when I used it on top of itself. So I have to be really careful there so that I only do one layer, whereas I definitely wouldn't need to worry about that here. One thing I would say is that I definitely have to change my method and my way of working in this sketchbook. I usually rely really heavily on my details layer to bring the painting together, and that's something that I couldn't do here. Because the paper is so textured, when I went to do my usual coloured pencil layer, it really wasn't creating the nice smooth lines that I like. Obviously it didn't fill all of the gaps of the textured paper, and I wasn't really after that sketchy look. It means that when I work in this sketchbook again, I think I'd have to do more details with the paint rather than the Neocolor pastels and the pencils that I usually use. So for example with the windows, I struggled a bit to get the nice neat panes, but it did work well to create the uneven texture on the bushes. I think I could add more details with the markers, which you'll see I do on the greenery and on the roof, but I wouldn't be able to only rely on pencils for the refined, intricate details. I'd love to use this sketchbook outside as well. Whenever I do plein air drawings, I only use markers or pencils, and I very rarely take my paints out with me. I think this sketchbook would be perfect to take outside and actually use my gouache on location for once. I know it would dry really quickly and the paper would hold whatever I throw at it. So I'm already looking forward to summer and being able to go outside and try my hand at painting plein air. It feels really luxe to work on this sketchbook, and I definitely was a bit nervous of creating a good painting because I knew it was expensive. I really love how crisp the lines are when peeling off the tape at the end, and it didn't rip or try to take the paper off at all, which is always really annoying when that happens in some sketchbooks, but not a problem here. I really wish they did this sketchbook with hot press paper because for me, it's a little too textured for my usual style of working. I would have to use more paint for details like I mentioned earlier because I just can't get the level of precision I want because the paper isn't smooth. It's also my first time trying out a landscape sketchbook because I've only ever used portrait bound sketchbooks, but I think it's perfect for painting landscapes in. This one, obviously I painted portrait anyway, but I'm happy to mix and match in this sketchbook and rotate it however I want for the scene. I also really want to try and paint a landscape over the full spread rather than just one page. A long thin view isn't something I've painted before, but I think it would work really well with a horizon or a sunset. Although I probably wouldn't buy another perfect sketchbook, I'd love to try one of their standard Etchr sketchbooks just because I think I'd prefer the smoother hot press paper. It's also a lower paper weight at 200 GSM compared to 300 GSM, but for the work I usually do, I think that would still be plenty sturdy enough for my gouache paints. I'd love to hear what you think of the painting and if you have any thoughts on Etchr sketchbooks and if you've used them yourselves. They seem to be quite a new brand, but it's exciting to see another brand on the market that creates really great quality art materials, and hopefully they'll keep expanding with more and more products. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you like this one, then please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for other paint with me's or arty and creative videos. I hope you have a lovely week and speak to you soon. See you later.